Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for coming to our Israel and Jordan passenger briefing for our trip departing March 23rd. We are very excited about this trip and hope that you are as well. Of course, we've got some housekeeping things that we have to go through, so let's get to it. Of course, you will need your passport, personal identification, your vaccination card or record, copies and medications of your prescriptions. If you are bringing medication that are life-affirming medications, you need to bring copies of the prescriptions for those in case for some unknown reason there is a holdup. And I don't mean the copies of the prescription that the doctor scribbles. I mean copies that you can print out from your pharmacy, whether it be Costco, CVS, Walgreens, that kind of copy in case you have a medical issue. Then your caregivers can be assured that they are not giving you medications that would be against what you're currently taking. If you have travel insurance, please bring proof of that. Frank and I will have proof of insurance that you purchased through Sun Tours, but that's the only proof of insurance we'll have. Your emergency contact information, again, Frank and I will have that, but you should have it with you at all times. We do recommend that you make back and front copies of your credit cards and your passport, first 2 pages. We recommend that you make color copies and you exchange them with a travel companion, and you leave a set here at home with whomever is feeding the dog and bringing in the newspaper. If you should get separated from your items, it's much easier to get them replaced if you have copies available. And of course, if you are bringing maps and guidebooks, those are things that you'll want to have with you as well. This is a COVID-19 vaccination record from the state of New Mexico. You can see that it has a QR code in the lower left-hand corner there. So you want to make sure, if possible, that you get this, and you can easily get it from from the New Mexico Department of Health record. So check that out. That will make it much easier for you to complete the Israeli health registration form. And this is also printed on the handouts that we gave you this morning. But you need to do this no earlier than 48 hours before traveling. And if you have the QR code, then you can use that very easily to complete this form. This is what that form will look like, and you must have this form in order to get on the plane in Miami when it departs for Israel. In order to get this form, you will not only need proof of vaccination, but you will also need proof of a negative PCR test. And we have set up a PCR testing here at the Sun Tours office for Monday, March 21st. So if you don't have access to a PCR test in another way, you may sign up and come into the office in the afternoon on the 21st and have your test completed. It is a local company, and they guarantee that you will have the results in plenty of time to complete this form. Your passport, of course, must be valid for at least 6 months after the completion of this trip, and we have checked that for all of you. You will be, of course, showing it at the airport with your vaccination proof and your green card. And when you're boarding, as I said, carry a photocopy with you, and oftentimes there'll be a safe in your hotel room, and you may want to keep it in there the rest of the time and just carry your copy with you when you're out and about. We do recommend that you notify your cell phone and credit card companies that you'll be traveling. Of course, you'll be out of network with your cell phone services, so be cautious about using your phone. You may want to use WhatsApp or Skype or FaceTime, depending on whether you have an Android or Apple phone. And It's very easy to get an international service, so that may be something that you want to look into if it's possible that you will have urgent phone calls that you must receive. You are allowed, we are handling for you one checked bag. You may also carry a carry-on bag, a 22-inch bag that will go in the overhead of the airplane, and a personal item that will go under the seat. And you must be able to manage those yourself. We will not be able to handle that luggage for you that you carry on. Here's some information about your checked bag restrictions. Your first bag with American Airlines is no charge, but succeeding bags are $100. So you want to be aware of that. And you do want to make sure that your bag does not exceed the size limit or the 50-pound limit, because that will incur additional charges even for your free bag. We recommend that you pack in packing cubes and folders. We find that they really help stay organized, and they do compress air so you can get more into your suitcase. And if your packet cube or folder is not as full when you're getting ready to leave the hotel as it was when you arrived, then there's probably still something in a drawer or on the back of the bathroom door. Helps you keep track of things. You may want to pack so that all of your resort wear for the Dead Sea, for instance, is in a packet folder, or things for cooler weather are in a packet folder, or outfits are in a specific packet folder. I also recommend that you have a packet folder with a change of clothes that's either in your carry-on or even in your companion's carry-on, and then you're carrying his extras. Again, in case you are separated from your luggage, you will have at least one change of clothes with you. We do recommend that you pack enough of your medications for each day of the trip, plus a few extra days. We will be staying at several resorts with swimming pools, and we'll be visiting the Dead Sea where you can enjoy a float. So do recall to bring your bathing suit and bring comfortable walking shoes. We will be spending a day walking around Petra on sand and up steep steps, so you will want to make sure that you are comfortable walking every place that we'll be walking. These are sizes, of course, of your carry-on and personal bags. And again, the items in these bags that never leave your side are your medications, any electronic entertainment, your cameras, your Nooks, any jewelry that you might be taking you don't want to pack in your checked luggage. Comfort items like your toothbrush, or a night mask, or a pillow for sleeping on the overnight flight. You may want to have a few snacks, your cell phone and chargers. All of the electrical equipment that you'll need to charge anything should be in these carry-on bags. All of your documents and passports, and of course you will want to have a security wallet under your clothing for your backup money, for your passport, those kinds of things, so they are secure. Israel and Jordan are very, very safe countries, but it's always wise to be prepared. Money, we'll talk about a little bit further in a few minutes, and then perhaps a change of clothing and a day bag that you are comfortable with, that your water bottle can go in, hiking staff if you're taking one. You will have a luggage tag in your packet, and please put that luggage tag on your checked bag. There should be one each for each person. This is the Israeli money, the new shekel, and you can see that it's in some ways very similar to the euro, especially in that it grows larger in physical size as the denomination of the bill grows larger. But of course they have Israeli heroes on it instead of European. And this is the Jordanian dinar. The dinar is about 1.41 to the US dollar. You won't need more than pocket money. Don't be extremely worried about cash, you will want to use your credit card the majority of the time while you are traveling. The best place to get money changed is at the ATM in the Israeli airport. So once we get our baggage and go through immigration, we will stop at ATMs so that each of you can change money if you should want to. If you want to get Israeli money here in the U.S., Bank of America and Wells Fargo will often be able to provide that if you are one of their bankers there. The weather in Jerusalem will range from the mid-40s at night to the low to middle 60s during the day. Of course, it could get much warmer. It's not likely to get significantly cooler, but it is a desert area, so you know how that works because you've lived in Albuquerque perhaps, and you know that the day-night temperature difference can be quite extreme. The Tel Aviv temperatures are mid-50s at night to mid to upper 60s during the day, closer to the water, so there's more humidity and therefore there's not as steep a change in the temperature. The Amman temperatures will range again from the mid-40s at night to low to middle 60s during the day. But as I said, we will be walking extensively in Petra, so you want to dress in layers so that you can take those off as the sun warms the air around you. Desert, of course, means that it's much cooler at night, as I said, and there may be rain. There's only supposed to be 6 to 8 days of rain on average in March and early April, but that doesn't preclude the fact that it may indeed rain at some point in time, and you'll be ready to be prepared. The dress code in general is casual, but we do recommend that you have shirts and pants that cover the knees for holy sites, and we will be in many of them, both Jewish, not both, but all Jewish, Muslim, and Christian sites. Gentlemen, you may want to have a hat for honoring Jewish sites, so do think about that in advance and have some kind of head covering for yourself. Ladies are not so important, but they do ask that your shoulders and knees be covered in holy sites. And of course, as I said, sturdy walking, comfortable shoes are imperative. The electricity is 230 volts, and you will need an adapter plug. The adapter, the outlets in Israel and Jordan are these 3 little round pins, and if you are taking an electronic device that is not dual voltage, you will need a voltage converter, but almost everything is dual voltage now. However, the plugs that the U.S. Electronic items are with do not fit into these 3 little holes, so you will need an adapter plug, and you can find those at Lieber's Luggage. If you are taking on any liquids or gels, you will want to obey the 3-1-1 rule, which is no more than 3 ounces, all in a 1-quart bag, and there's allowed 1 bag per person. This does not include medications, so if you're taking medications, you don't need to worry about that. And this is only for things you are carrying on, not for checked luggage. Frank and myself are your Sun Tours escorts, and I think you know how we look, but here's a picture just in case. And this is Frank's cell phone and my cell phone. If you're running late to the airport, if you get lost, our phones will be on all during the trip. Our tour guide in Israel and in Jordan will also provide their cell phone numbers, so you can call them if you need to. If you run into any problems, we will be available to help you with those. In your packets are your name tags with their bright yellow lanyards. We do appreciate you wearing those, especially until we learn everybody's name, but especially in the airports, it helps us keep track of everyone. We will have now an extended layover in Miami, and if you leave the gate area that we are in because you want to take a walk around or go to the bookstore in the next concourse, we will really appreciate being able to count heads when it's time for everybody to be back together. So if you can wear those lanyards for us, that'd be great. We'll be flying American, and you need to arrive at the airport at 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, March 23rd. And Frank and I will meet you across from the American Airlines ticketing counter. Please check in with us before you go to the ticket counter, and especially before you go upstairs to the gate area. We really do need to know that you have arrived safely and are waiting for us. So please make sure that you check in with us before going to the American Airlines ticket counter. I know this is not any of your first rodeos. You've all been traveling, I think. Just a few pointers. Remember to wear your face mask. Of course, right now that is required. It may change by the time we travel on March 23rd. You'll need to have your ID, i.e. your passport, and your boarding pass out for inspection. If you are a TSA pre-check traveler, you don't need to worry about removing your 311 bag or your shoes or your computer from your carry-on bag. But if you are not a TSA pre-check, please be prepared to do all of those removals. And if you are a TSA pre-check, please make sure that Sun Tours has your TSA pre-check number so we can ensure that it's on your ticket. You may want to have a few snacks with you. Domestic flights especially have shrunk their services, so you will want to be cautious about making sure that you have a snack or food while you are flying, or to prevent yourself from spending too much money in the airport so you can save your money for souvenirs. Do let us know if you have any dietary restrictions or need any special accommodation, a wheelchair or a walker. We're happy to help accommodate you, but we need to know about it. And of course, we want to celebrate with you if you are having a birthday or an anniversary. There is a big birthday happening during this tour is in celebration of a big birthday for one of our members, so we'll be helping him to celebrate. The gratuities for your tour directors in Israel and Jordan and for the coach drivers are being paid for by Sun Tours, of course, but tips for housekeeping and any special spa services at any of the resorts are not included. So do be prepared to add those on if you ask for any special services. So here is our itinerary. We depart Albuquerque and we then fly overnight to Tel Aviv. Of course, we have to go through Dallas and then to Miami, where we have an extended layover, and then we'll get on the flight to Tel Aviv. Once we are in Tel Aviv, we'll go through immigration, pick up our baggage, and meet our guide, whose name is Gil Amir. There will be a COVID test upon arrival, and then we'll transfer to the hotel. We will overnight in the hotel, and what we know now is that we will quarantine for no more than 24 hours or until the negative COVID test result has come back. If it doesn't come back within 24 hours, you're still off the hook, but in all likelihood, it will come back in less than 24 hours. So we'll begin our tour on day 3 by having a walking tour of Tel Aviv, which was founded in 1909 and has the White City, which is a Bauhaus design district, which we will be able to walk through and see. And then we will go to Anu, the Museum of the Jewish People, which will show us the history of this ancient people for the last 4,000 years. Then we'll overnight and have dinner at the hotel. On every day, breakfast and dinner is provided, but lunch will be on your own. And Gil will point out restaurants that he knows are good and appropriate, and offer the price point that any of you are looking for. There is tipping for restaurants is, of course, not included for the meals that you're buying on your own, but you just need to add a couple of shekels to the bottom line on the bill if there's not already a cover charge added. So the water is safe to drink, and there will be mineral water, sparkling water, available to buy if you choose to. The next day we go to Caesarea, and this is the Roman aqueduct in Caesarea. So you can see how ancient the locations we're going to be visiting are, dating back to Roman days. And then we'll go to Acre, also known as Akko. This again is an ancient Crusader building. This is a Tortuguero. Excuse me, not the Tortuguera. This is the you can see the Muslim influences of in Acre here. Day 4 we'll also go to Tiberias, and we will stay in Tiberias for 3 nights. It's an Israeli city on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, and the old city holds very important Jewish and Christian pilgrimage sites, including the tomb of Maimonides and Etz Chaim Synagogue. The waterfront features a restaurant-lined promenade, a marina, and a fish market. And south of the city is a national park that is home to famed mineral hot springs that date to antiquity. So we will spend 3 nights in Tiberias. Day 5, we will go and visit the Sea of Galilee, which of course is so important to Christianity. And we will take a boat ride on a wooden vessel similar to those that have been used for thousands of years. We are also going to see a wooden boat, an antique wooden boat, so you can see how similar the shape of this vessel is, that was found in the Sea of Galilee. Then we'll go to the Mount of Beatitudes, which is the traditional site of Jesus's delivery of the Sermon on the Mount. And we'll go to Capernaum to see the synagogue there. Lastly, on day 5, we'll go to the Golan Heights Winery. And pardon me, this is Israel's 3rd largest winery. It has kosher wines. The winery was started in 1983, and it's Israel's leading winery when it comes to wine quality and technological innovation. It's played a significant role in developing and nurturing Israel's current wine culture, and it's also altered the way Israeli wines are perceived worldwide and placed Israel on the world wine map. Today we're going to Nazareth with all of its biblical history. We'll visit the Church of Annunciation, which you can see here, and the synagogue church in the city market. We may be able to visit with 2 representatives of the city to learn about daily life in Nazareth. The synagogue church is reputedly where Jesus studied and prayed, and Nazareth also has an open-air museum which reconstructs daily life in Jesus' era. Then we're going to climb Mount Bentel, where we'll see a panoramic view of the border of Israel and Syria. On day 7, we're going to drive to Bet Shean, which was the ancient Scythopolis, Pompey and the Romans rebuilt Bet Shahan in 63 BC and renamed it the city of the Scythians. It became capital city of the Decapolis and was the only city on the west side of Jordan. The city continued to grow and prosper in Roman and Byzantine periods until it was destroyed in 1749 by a huge earthquake. But excavations have unveiled a remarkable city, one which incorporates all the glory of Rome, and you can see the beautiful columns there, and the best of Hellenistic culture. So we will visit Bet Shahan. We'll go along and go to the Qumran caves where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. We'll see the Dead Sea Scrolls a little bit later when we get to Jerusalem. And we'll continue along the shores of the Dead Sea to Masada, which is the home, of course, of the hilltop ruins of the ancient fortress. Among the ruins are King Herod's palace, which sprawls over 3 rock terraces and a Roman-style bathhouse. The Masada Museum has lots of archaeological exhibits and will tell the story of the defiant Jews who stayed on Masada. And then we arrive in Jerusalem. It's the holy city for the world's 3 great religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It's unlike any city in the world in that regard. We'll start on day 8 in Jerusalem with a tour that includes the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane. We'll continue into the Old City, where we will see the Western or Wailing Wall, which is perhaps the most important site of the Jewish world. And we'll also visit the Davidson Center, which is in the lower corner there. The Davidson Center is a park which follows events spanning some 5,000 years, beginning with the Bronze Age and continuing through the years of the Israelite monarchy in the First Temple period. So lots and lots of history there. We'll walk the Way of the Cross, which is the Via Dolorosa, to Calvary and Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And then we'll go to Mount Zion, the traditional tomb of David, and the traditional room of the Last Supper. Then we'll return to the hotel for dinner and overnight in Jerusalem. Next day in Jerusalem, we'll go to the Yad Vashem Memorial to the Holocaust. This is an extraordinary and moving museum that I'm really looking forward to visiting. I suppose looking forward is perhaps not the right terms for it, but I do expect it to be quite an extraordinary experience. In the afternoon, we'll do something completely different and which should be quite a lot of fun. We'll visit the Machne Yehuda market, and you'll see all of the vegetables and all of the goods that are available to really get into the smells and flavors of Jerusalem. Then we'll overnight again and have dinner at the hotel in Jerusalem. Our last day in Jerusalem, we'll go to the Israel Museum with a detailed model of Jerusalem from the time of the Second Temple. And this is the Shrine of the Book, which houses the Dead Sea Scrolls. And you see in the lower corner there a scroll-like handle, and the Dead Sea Scrolls are actually protected, and you can walk around and see all of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's really an extraordinarily beautifully designed museum. We'll drive by the Knesset, and which is of course the Parliament of Israel and the campus of Hebrew University, and we'll visit Herodion, named after Herod, and then go on to Bethlehem and see the Basilica of the Nativity and several other important sites in Bethlehem, Chapel of St. Jerome, Milk Grotto, and the Shepherd's Field, very important sites for Christianity. And this is our last night in Jerusalem. The next day, we're heading to Jordan. We'll check out of the hotel and proceed to the Allenby border crossing. We'll say goodbye to Gil, our Israeli guide and driver, and start the proceedings for our border crossing. We'll have to walk across the border. The Israeli bus cannot take us, and so we will need to be aware of where our luggage is, and we may need to assist with that transfer into the Jordanian coach. And our guide on the Jordanian side of the border is Salih Hamad, and he will start showing us Jordan. We will drive now to Aqaba, and as we go, we'll stop by Wadi Rum. And Wadi Rum is famous as the stronghold of Lawrence of Arabia during the Arabian uprising in the 1900s, 1917 to 1919. Wadi Rum was a fortress. The next day we will spend entirely in Petra. And we've changed the itinerary somewhat so that we will not try to do Wadi Rum on the same day as Petra, and that gives us much more time to explore Petra. This, of course, is the treasury. This complex dates to around 300 BC, and it was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom. Accessed via a very narrow canyon called the Asik. It contains tombs and temples carved into these pink sandstone cliffs, and that gave it the nickname the Rose City. The most famous structure is perhaps the 45-meter high, 45 meters, 130 feet high Al-Khazneh, a temple with an ornate Greek-style facade, also known as the Treasury. And of course, you've seen this building in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. We'll have dinner and overnight in a hotel near Petra. The next day, we'll drive towards the Dead Sea, and on the way, we'll stop at Kerak, which is the castle that was created by the Crusaders and located in Al-Kerak, Jordan. It's one of the largest Crusader castles, and construction began in the 1140s when pagan and folk were king of Jerusalem. The Crusaders called it Kerak des Moabites, or Kerak in Moab, and that's how it's referred to in the history books. But you'll see these huge ruins started in the 1140s during the earliest Crusaders. Then we'll get to the Dead Sea, and our hotel will have is a lovely resort on the Dead Sea, and we'll have all kinds of amenities to help us change into bathing suits and float in the Dead Sea. So do make sure you bring your bathing suit. Of course, the lake surface is 430 meters below sea level, which makes its shores the lowest land-based elevation on Earth. Next day, we're going to go to Mount Nebo. Mount Nebo is mentioned in the Bible as the place where Moses was granted a view of the promised land before his death and where he received the 10 Commandments. So we will be able to see a panorama of the West Bank across the Jordan River Valley from the peak of Mount Nebo. The city of Jericho is usually visible from the summit, as is Jerusalem if it's a very clear day. So we'll be able to see those sites from Mount Nebo. Then we'll go to Madaba, which is an ancient town in Jordan, southwest of the capital of Amman. It's known for its 6th century mosaic map of the Holy Land. It's in the Greek Orthodox Church of St. George, and you can see part of this mosaic. It's incredibly detailed beautifully preserved. So it'll be a fascinating way to review all of the sites that we've seen up till now. Then we're going to arrive in Amman. This is a picture of the King Abdullah Mosque, which is just an extraordinary site. We'll have a city tour of Amman, and then a dinner overnight in Amman, and then the next day we will board the planes to return to Albuquerque. So I think, there is, of course, currently, as of this moment, a test requirement before, a COVID test requirement before returning to the United States, and that will be taken care of in Jordan by our tour guide and tour company. So we'll arrange that and let you know what the schedule of that will be. I think that covers everything. If you have any further questions, please give us a call, let us know, and we appreciate your attendance today and very much look forward to seeing you in a few weeks as we all head to Israel and Jordan. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.